any piece of advice you would either give to your younger self or to a young coach?
I'm a pretty simple guy. Like I enjoy coaching. Like it is fun. Like I enjoy writing practices. I enjoy working with the kids. There are pressures there, but I don't really think about the pressures. I have fun with it. So I would tell any coach to enjoy it. Don't think about the pressure. Just have fun.
Welcome to the Swim Strong Dryland Podcast, where we aim to highlight inspiring people doing amazing things in the Swim Strong family and in the greater swim community. All right, I'm here with Coach Mike Wenert and Mike Julian, both from Nova of Virginia, who've been doing some pretty incredible things in the swim community out in Virginia and well before. So many things that we can learn from these guys. But before we jump into their stories, guys, we got to do our rapid fire questions. Are you ready?
Yep, let's go.
Go for it.
All right, we'll start with Mike Wenert, and we'll go to Mike Julian right after that. See how quick you can answer these. First question, what is your walkout song if you had to choose one?
Jimi Hendrix, Voodoo Child.
Nice.
Mine would be Sweet Home Alabama.
That's good. Favorite pro or college sports team to watch?
Cincinnati Bengals.
Alabama Crimson Tide.
There you go. Oh, they had a good football season. It was a heartbreaking loss, though, in the college football playoff this year. How about if you were not a coach, what career would you be doing?
Wow. Something working with kids, teacher, something along those lines.
Yeah,
okay.
Same thing. I started out kind of in the teaching pathway.
It's a teacher. All right, how about the funniest coach on the Nova staff?
Oh, jeez. Wow. I'm going to say Matt Bailey.
I was going to say Matt Bailey. Just and funny
in
on
the same way.
Yeah. Matt just says some funny things that are kind of off the cuff.
Yes, definitely.
Who is a celebrity you would love to spend a day with?
Michael Jordan.
I was going to say Tiger Woods.
Ooh, some of the all-time greats in each sport. Who's your favorite cartoon character of all time?
Probably Homer Simpson.
Yes.
I used to like watching Voltron. If that's
wow.
Eric, do you remember that one?
I do. That's awesome. That's the first Voltron answer I've gotten on that question. That's good.
Yeah. That's the first thing that popped into
my
head.
Last but not least, what's your favorite thing about the Swim Strong Dryland program to this point?
I think just building confidence with the kids. It's another layer that we can add, not just the swimming part of things, but the getting stronger part of it. I definitely feel like gives us an advantage and an edge.
Yeah. So for me, I'd like just like the variety of things that we can do. Just before we were with Swim Strong, it wasn't not a lot of equipment, but being able to use different things and just the variety of movements, the functionality of everything, being able to relate it to actual swimming movements.
Awesome. You guys crushed the rapid fire questions. Good work. Now we'll jump into your guys' stories. I want to dive a little deeper. So much to unpack here. So both of you guys have had pretty storied coaching careers, had a lot of success at multiple stops. And so we can just start in the same order. Start with Mike Wenert. Can you talk just a little bit about your journey in coaching up to this point? How'd you get into coaching swimming in the first place? What led to that decision to be a coach? And then kind of fast forward through your journey up to how you got to where you are now.
Well, I swam 3 years in college, and my fourth year, I just was in a lot of pain, was facing another surgery. So I ended up not swimming my senior year, and a local club coach reached out to my college coach, and I just started off part-time for first 2 years and really fell in love with it and working with the kids, and it just kind of took off from there. I started in Dayton, Ohio, and I was at a club called Washington Township Rec Center from 92, 93-ish to 99. Head age group coach there, and then moved down back home to Cincinnati, and was with the Cincinnati Marlins off and on from 99 to 2017. And served a lot of different roles there: senior coach, age group coach, head age group coach, and then eventually was the associate head coach. But my wife is from the Virginia area, and once I made a deal with her that once the kids were old enough, we would look at getting back down to close to where she grew up. So in 2017, made the move to Charlottesville, Virginia. Originally, when I moved down, we were Kayak, and we changed names, changed teams, and we became Cavalier Aquatics. I think about a year and a half before I ended up moving up to Nova. So been at Nova since 2022. It's been fun. I've learned a lot of great coaches, great organization. Nova does it right from top to bottom. Yeah. So I couldn't be happier with where I'm at right now.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing all that background. I'm going to dive a little bit more into that in a second too. I'll go to Coach Mike Julian. Can you share a little bit about your background and journey in coaching as well?
Yeah. So I ended up swimming 4 years at East Carolina and didn't graduate within that 4 years. So I was going to be there for a fifth year. And I thought my path would be college coaching. So I was a grad assistant my fifth year. But then on the side, I started working with the local club team there, Greenville Swim Club. I think it's East Carolina Aquatics now. So I just did that for a year. And then my college coach at East Carolina was Brent St. Pierre, who was at the time up at the CCA Marlins in Roanoke, and gave my name to Ted Soliday at Poseidon. And he called me up, and that was like 2001. And he was like, "Hey, you want a job?" I was like, "Sure." So came up to Richmond. I'm originally from Stafford, Virginia. So Richmond's about an hour south of there. And yeah, I came up to Richmond and actually been here ever since. My wife and I got married in 2003, and she came on up, and I was at Poseidon till 2015, and there was an opportunity at Nova across town, and contacted them, and they were able to fit me on the staff, and yeah, been here since then, 2015 or 16.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks guys for sharing that background. And so as everybody can hear listening, that they've had some pretty awesome experiences along the way and have been doing this for a long time, even swimming themselves. And so really lifelong swim athletes and coaches. And that's pretty rare, not only to have someone be that consistent in the sport on your coaching staff, but it's also even more rare to have two people on the same staff who have been in the sport for so long and have made such an impact. And I'm wondering what you guys have taken from all the experiences you had. What was kind of the vision when you came to Nova, where both of you are now? Mike Wenert, we can start with you. What was the mindset in coming to Nova? What were you looking to do with the team culture and kind of just the vision behind the team as a whole? And then we'll go to Mike Julian.
I think for me, the big thing, Norm Wright hired me. And I think the big thing that I really wanted to do at Nova was just focus on coaching. The previous job I had so many different hats, and I had to do so many different things that it was hard to put all my effort and energy into coaching. And that's one of the great things about Nova is we have a ton of people in place to help with all the admin and all the stuff that, hold you back from being a great coach. So that was really the driving force for me, is just the ability to focus on coaching and making the athletes as good as they can be.
Yeah. And when you talk about the setup for that, you kind of have a history too of working with clubs, even when you had a lot of different hats to wear, that have ended up being extremely successful. You talk about the Marlins, you talk about Cavalier, you talk about Nova now being a perennial gold medal club. What would you say like the common thread is between teams that are successful and reach that gold medal status, that have fantastic swimmers? What's like the common thread that you've noticed that in all the different situations have allowed the athletes to thrive?
I think continuity is really important, and just having the right people in the right places. That goes a long way. I know I have strengths and I know I have weaknesses, and I feel like for me right now, I am in a spot where I'm at a strength, and throughout the whole program, that's the way we're set up. And that was the same back in Cincinnati. Put the right people in the right spots and let them do their thing. And I think success will be right behind you when that happens.
That's pretty insightful, but I find that to be a lot more difficult for coaches to let people find their strengths and just do what they're best at. And you say, hey, I know my weaknesses, I know my strengths. We need to do this together. And I don't know if this is just me or if you've seen this, but I do notice, obviously not every coaching situation is perfect. And there's challenges to coaching, and everybody deals with insecurities. But something I noticed that kills teams more than anything is insecurities within coaching staff, ego within a coaching staff. I don't even get a hint of that with you guys. Like, there's so much humility across the board. Everybody does their job. Everybody respects one another. And I don't know, how do you build that? How is that something that you guys do well now? And is that, because I don't think that's normal. I mean, it's not something you see at a lot of clubs where like you just let people thrive in different roles.
Mike, you want to take that one? Yeah, you take that.
Because I was kind of thinking, we just had our state age group championship meet, and one thing at Nova is like we take pride in the groups and the age groups that we coach, and for me coaching the 13-14s, I have a certain goal or certain standard that I want to see them reach. So once, I get some of those swimmers, I know it's time to hand them off to, whether it's, Mike, they might have to wait a year or so before they get to the national group, but the group above mine. And I know the 11-12s, I was watching a lot of what they were doing and talking to the 11-12 coach, and because I'll get some of them coming in the next week or so. So I think it's just, we understand our roles, and I've been with Nova for 7 or 8 years now, and I never have felt that someone's trying to take someone else's job. And I think that's been key to the success that we've had. We've moved around. Some coaches have moved around on staff, but only for like more of a coaching development and just learning from other coaches. So I think being as successful as we are, we take pride in the group that we're coaching, and we enjoy that age group. If when you ask like what I would, if I wasn't, a swim coach, I'd probably be a middle school teacher. I just feel that age group and that those type of kids are the ones that I can make the most impact on. So I think we all understand our role and to make what Nova is.
That's really cool. Really cool. And you
Eric,
can see that if you're – go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think it comes from our leaders too. Like I know you said something about egos, and I think this staff is egoless. Like we all work together well, and that just comes from the top down. And we know our roles, and we do them, and we try to do them as good as we can. And I think that's why we're at where we're at.
And I'll say one more thing too. Like we even back this weekend at the meet, we have our own lessons program. So we'll have kids that start out in like level 1, level 2. And even this past weekend, one of the coaches made a comment of that swimmer was a level 1 swimmer who's scoring or, placing at the state level. That's, 11, 12, 13, 14. And they've been with Nova from the beginning. And we recognize that with our lessons instructors.
Yeah. That is awesome. Even down to the lessons that you guys know the people and you recognize who's doing a great job in their role. And I've heard it said from some of the greatest coaches in professional sports that, like, if everybody is, I don't know where the original phrase came from, but if everybody is a star in their role, your team is going to be incredibly successful. Whether it be athletes or coaches, athletes who play, if you're looking at the NBA, play 5 minutes a game off the bench, but they're a star in that role and do their job excellently, the team is going to thrive. And but it is really hard to have that type of culture and have that mindset. Obviously, you guys have a lot of experience in having coached many athletes throughout the years and worked with many coaching staffs. You know what it takes to be great. And now you guys have a pretty amazing culture built. What would you say, so Mike Julian, I started talking to you about Swim Strong last year, and that's where I first recognized too, like the setup of your guys' team, because you're like, hey, this is one of the things I'm focused on, bringing and developing dry land for our team. I work with 13-14s, and were describing to me the different structure, and I was like, this is awesome. Like, this is such a great setup. But how do you guys decide, this is something I think that is challenging for leadership on coaching says, how do you decide who's going to be great in each role? Is this something that, and either one of you can take this, but how do you guys know, like, do you just bring someone in because you know they're a great person? Is that the first thing when you bring in a coach, and then you say, okay, where can you fit? And then you kind of cut their role, or do you guys have kind of specific things you're looking for when you bring people on? How does that work in terms of like getting all the pieces in place, if that makes sense?
Well, I'll start, Mike, and then you can maybe piggyback on what I say. You know, being at Nova now for, like I said, 7 or 8 years, the staff hasn't changed a ton. Like, the roles that we have in place now, our 11-12 coach, our 10 and under coach, those lead coaches, and then even the our gold level coaches and then our silver level coaches have all remained pretty much the same. Now the staff has changed. I mean, their roles have changed a little bit, but again, the continuity within the staff. Mike's one of our newest staff members. We have one new hire who works with our 10 and under program, our 12 and under program. But for the most part, most of our staff's been here for 4, 5, 6 years, and a lot of our staff are homegrown. They swam for Nova.
Wow.
So
that's special. How do you create that culture where people stay? Oh, no, go ahead, Mike. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think it's really valuable too to find people who are good in more than one role. Like, and I think there's a lot of mixing and matching, I would say. I don't think anybody's ever going to be set with what they're going to do, coaching wise or administratively or whatever. I think we're always trying to tweak and make it the best that we possibly can. So nothing's set in stone. I think we're always trying to make it better. So we're always looking to maximize everybody's strengths.
When you guys are talking about people knowing their role and doing their job at a high level, that's one thing that I think is special. But then the other thing is, you guys have hit on this in a couple different, you said this a couple different times now, continuity on the staff, longevity on the staff. That's also pretty rare. There's some coaching carousels. I know people have the hardest time. They're always looking for coaches. They are always trying their best to just stay afloat in terms of like having enough coaches just to be on deck with the kids. And sometimes they have to hire people just to fill a spot because they just need someone there. It seems like pretty rampant across the country where people are just constantly looking for staff. So how do you build a culture within the coaching staff, especially in a team like you guys have a large team? So how do you handle like the communication? How do you handle like coach satisfaction? How is that culture developed where people want to stay, right? That's a choice that people make, and that's so good for the kids. But how do you do that on the coaching level, just for coaches out there listening who maybe have struggled with turnover? What would you say some of the biggest things are that have led to coaches loving being a part of the staff?
I'll start. I think the biggest thing is the coaches can focus on coaching. They aren't getting tied down with all of the other things. I know in my previous roles, I was scheduling pools and I was booking hotels and doing all that stuff. And we really don't have to do that stuff. We have people who are hired to take care of that. We have a full-time admin people, and that's the biggest thing for me is just being able to coach and focus on the kids. So and I realize for me, like coming from a couple different programs, that Nova's special that way. So the founder, Jeff Brown, did a fantastic job of setting this up for long-term success, and knowing roles that everybody could fill.
I think another thing that helps our culture, and call it spoiled if you want, but like we have our own water, so we can kind of dictate a lot of that, and it does make coaching the number one priority. Another thing I think that helps this and is our facilities manager, director, Drew Hirth, was a former coach, and coach that grew up swimming for Nova, grew up swimming for Jeff Brown, then came back and started, worked in our lessons, worked with our tenant unders, and he's now taken on a new role of, managing 2 facilities, but he always puts us first. So he's like, whatever you guys need. So if we're scheduling a long course schedule, we're about to flip our new facility around to long course for the spring. So that kind of changes our practice times and maybe what we're doing, but he's always like, what do you guys need? So he puts us first, and he's always thinking about what we need first. So I think that makes wanting to coach here, knowing that, we're not going to get pushed aside if some other programming is going to come in and take our water or do something that is not beneficial for us.
Yeah, that's pretty incredible. And to have those relationships with board, with the management, even outside of coaching, is also pretty rare. So I'm starting to hear all these different connections that make you guys so successful, that everyone in their roles, even outside of coaching, is doing a fantastic job so that you can be freed up to focus on coaching. Because I do think that's one of the biggest reasons that coaches burn out, is they get asked to do 30 different things that they didn't actually sign up for when they said, I want to be a coach, I want to make an impact on kids. And sounds like those things are taken care of in a lot of ways. Obviously, there's always things you're going to have to do that you don't want to do in any job, but sounds like they're much more minimal. If you're on the Nova staff, you get to focus on the kids, which is insanely beneficial for the kids, because then you are passionate, you're focused on them, you're able to program in the water and give them your all. And I think that makes sense as to why so many athletes would want to be a part of the program too, because they can feel that, they can see that these coaches love coaching. This is set up for me to be successful as an athlete. I'm guessing was that a part of the vision when setting up the business behind Nova, to make it very athlete centered?
I mean, I wasn't there for all that, but I'm assuming that's to put the athletes first, and make sure everybody has their roles and do their roles the best they can.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know the way I think Nova was like set up prior to me getting there was certainly to put the athletes with, I think for athlete success, you got to create friendships and bonds. And I know when Nova was growing, they created the groups so that they are grouped with 9, 10s, 11, 12s, 13, 14s, and they try to. So they were moving kids through the program. So because I know some clubs out there will have their 14-year-old possibly swimming with a 10-year-old, or a highly successful 12-year-old swimming with a high school sophomore, junior, and as close. Those might be some smaller teams, and the kids may be close, I guess, in speed and ability, and they may develop friendships, but to have a bond of I don't know, Mike, I don't know how many do we have in our graduating class this year. My son's a senior. There's 25 kids, and they're all so tight.
Hmm.
And then the class above and below them, they're all friends, and I think that does create a culture, creates kids being successful. I think that helps a lot.
Yeah. What would be, in terms of your guys' your personal philosophy in coaching? Start with Mike Wenert here. What would you say would be like if you're on Nova and they're working with you as their coach, what would you say like your heartbeat is, your philosophy or mindset, just in terms of working with the athletes? What would you say just kind of like permeates through the training as far as like your mindset when coaching athletes?
Well, for me, the most important thing is just like building the relationships and building the trust within each athlete. Because I think once they trust you and trust your vision, then you can get amazing things out of them. So I started with that, and I think just communicating, talking to them as much as I possibly can, just really goes a long way with the training side of things. So once I have their trust, then I say, I think this is what we need to do. And we go for it. And, more often than not, it works out for the best. So,
Yeah. Yeah. How about yourself, Mike Julian?
So, my role is kind of that transition from age group swimming into senior swimming. So I I'll instill a little more discipline, a little more structure into what's happening, because I'll get a bunch of goofball 13-year-old boys that are trying to feel themselves and what they can do. And the culture of my group is that I'll have some older 14-year-old boys that are getting ready to be, or in high school, or getting ready to transition out of my group, and they're putting in the work, and these younger ones are seeing what's happening. And so I feel like I have a lot more structure and discipline into what we're doing, and same with the girls. Especially I've got a really good group of like 14-year-old girls that are kind of setting the example for the younger ones right now. And I think that is my role, so that when I hand them off to the senior morning programs, they're already has that instill of hard work, discipline. Okay, this is what we're here to do. And they'll get the job done once they kind of leave my group.
Yeah. Yeah, that to me, the age group coaching is the most underappreciated role in coaching across USA Swimming, and how vital it is for obviously a technical standpoint, so that senior coaches don't have to fix a whole bunch of things that were taught incorrectly, but also what you just said, the discipline standpoint, helping them grow as people, helping them learn how to carry themselves, so that when they get up to that senior level group, and when they move on to college, from the senior group, that they are well-rounded swim athletes, and also people who are ready for whatever like the world has for them. And so that's and you guys take a lot of special care to instill those values in them, and you're focused on much more than just in the pool. What are some of the things you do, starting with the age group program, to help these kids just in life, and then when they move into the senior program, what are some of the things you feel like you guys do really well to prepare them for college and beyond?
I'll start, Mike. Just, I know from the age group side, from even the 12 and unders, I don't know how many teams out there still do this, but we still try to do some team travel trips with our 10 and unders and our 11, 12s. We're bringing that back, I guess, if you want to call that. But I think that does teach the kids a lot. Teaches them, just to what's the word, to kind of be self-reliant on them, being in a meet and stuff like that. So I think that's one of the things our 12 and unders do, our 12 and under program does really well, to kind of prepare them outside of just swimming in general, learning how to be on their own. So
I would say on the senior side, I think just building confidence, and a confident swimmer or student, or whoever they're going to be, is somebody who's going to succeed. So I think for me, just continuing to build that confidence, and knowing that the having that basic concept of work ethic and dedication are going to go a long way towards success once they leave our program.
And another thing that kind of going from the 12 and unders, and one of the things, and Mike and I have talked about this just from a transition period of becoming 13-year-olds and moving forward, is dealing with a little bit of adversity. Like, you know, if they're not as successful as they want to be, like, how do they deal with that? And my group is that first group where they're not going to see success at every meet, and learning how to deal with that. And I felt like this year was a pretty good year for the kids that are starting to get it. And even if they didn't have a great meet this past weekend, they were still in pretty good spirits, knowing that this isn't the end of the road of their swimming. And then if they can learn that now, then as they leave my program and head off into the senior program, then, you know, Mike's, you know, doing his thing with kind of building their confidence up and just trusting what they're doing. And I think most of the swimmers at Nova trust the program. That's a big thing too, not just their coach. And if their coach does change for whatever reason, they know that what's been set, going back to our lessons and our 10 and unders and our 11, 12s, if they've been with the program for 7, 8, 9, 10 years, they know the program itself is going to work.
Yeah. They know that they're going to be taken care of regardless at every level, because people who are at Nova genuinely care and want to be great at what they're doing. And that's definitely something that is very unique and leads to a lot of success. When you guys talk about, as far as like coaching philosophy, so when you're working with the kids from the standpoint of like technical skills, and you know, there's a lot of discussion about yardage these days, and there's discussion about what's best for different age groups and what you should do. And I don't think there's a specific right answer. I think everybody has a unique coaching style, and every athlete is different too. What would you say your guys' philosophies are around the coaching aspect when they're in with the 13, 14s and in the senior group? What's your philosophy as far as training throughout the season and kind of progressing them through the program, preparing them for the next level?
I've never, I don't want to say I count the yardage, but I do like to get in swimming, but I'll vary it up. We've had very successful, like some distance and 400 IM come out of my group, but if you ask any one of my swimmers, I've never done 3 1000s in a row or 10 400 IMs in a row or anything like that. It's the amount of work and what we do within the hour and 45 minutes, 2 hours that we're actually swimming. So a lot of my sets are created so that they might be 2,500 to 3,000 yards long, but we might not go over a 200 or something, something like that. So I guess my philosophy is I'm more of a distance, and that was my background growing up, and that's what I love, and I still do. And because I think if you can do that work, any of the 400 IM thousands, you can transition into shorter stuff as you get older and actually physically mature. I mean, we have several athletes that I know that are seniors that were excelled at the 400 IM and the 1,000 and stuff when they were 13, 14, but they don't do that now, and they're excelling in other events that are some with Mike.
Yeah, Mike does a great job of preparing our 13, 14s for the senior side of swimming. So I know when they come through Mike that they're going to be completely and totally prepared for what we're trying to do on the senior side. So I think for the senior side, I think 3 to 4 times a week we're pretty much doing the same thing, whether it be aerobic IM or kicking or pulling or whatever. But I feel like once they get to the high school side, you got to start specializing too. So we really break down the kids in a group and offer different options at least 2 to 3 times a week, whether it be we have a definite dedicated distance group that they know they are going to do a distance set every Monday, and they're going to do it every Thursday. They just know it. They come into practice. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. They're going distance. And then the same thing with our middle distance kids. They know Mondays and Thursdays we're going middle distance. And then I think something new that we tried to incorporate this year was a little bit more speed work. I think one of our goals is to, when we get to those national level meets, to be a presence there. And I think on the individual side of things, we really are. But what we're lacking right now is the speed to compete on the relays. So we have made a dedicated effort to set up at least twice a week where they're working with a sprint coach. And, so I think if you ask from the senior side of things, we're just trying to give them a base, and then whatever their specialty is, we're going towards their specialty a couple times a week too.
That's really cool. At the senior, you don't hear that a lot. There's definitely some programs moving that way, but a lot of times everybody will do the same thing all week long, which is perfectly fine too. Everybody has different mindsets behind it, but I do think it's pretty cool that the kids can come in each week and know, hey, there's going to be some variety. There's going to be some things that I'm passionate about. Like, we're going to do things together as a team still a good chunk of the week. But then there's some things that I feel like I'm skilled at that I really want to develop and that I'm excited to train. And I just feel like in a sport as repetitive as swimming, to be able to have those days where you're like, oh, distance swimmer, Monday, Wednesday, that's going to be our focus. Like, this is our bread and butter. And but you're not like specializing in the sense of a college team where they're only training that and you're really doing a great job of fostering excitement. I would think if I was an athlete on the team, I would be pumped, when it comes to those speed days, if I like sprinting, the mid distance or distance days, if that was my passion. And so that's something, how did you guys adapt to that? Because that's definitely not an easy change to make. And I feel like adaptability as coaches is something that a lot of people struggle with, right? Like, seeing, okay, here's what we need. Maybe we can change something, and just always reevaluating. Is that just another thing that you guys have always done? You're like, hey, let's constantly reevaluate. Ego's out the door. How can we get better? Is that something that was already set when you guys came there, or more just a part of your guys' coaching philosophy?
For me, that's the way I've always done things. Even when I was an age group coach, I've always split the kids up a couple days a week. So that's something that I've just been doing for a long time. But I think what I really like about it at Nova is collaborating with Coach Mike, and Mike works with the national group too. And, I love the variety that he brings with his sets, because I think every coach has their specific way of writing things. And I think sometimes it can get a little stale, so like a fresh perspective on a distance set from Coach Mike, I know the kids love it. And, so, and we have 2 or 3 other coaches who are also collaborating. So I think collaboration is a really, really big thing. And it's like you said earlier, ego's out the door. We're all in this together. Let's try to have the best team that we possibly can. And, let's write the best practice that we possibly can. So, I think that's just the way I've always done it. So
I think me from the 13-14 side and working with the seniors, watching it kind of morph into that kind of that continuity and consistency. And I think the kids like that. So they're not guessing every day, like, oh, what's the day going to be? Oh, I know Tuesday is going to be an aerobic IM day, or, for Mike. And, for me, I've done a test set on Tuesday nights, call it like a tight 10 Tuesday. So they know that it's going to be that we're going to do that. And on Wednesdays, we're going to go off the block and sometimes do like a competition between the boys versus the girls, and which they really enjoy. So they kind of know what's Wednesday set, what's the competition, what's the test set today. So they kind of know, and I think they like that, and they look forward to it. So I think creating that consistency does help in their training and the excitement for some of the kids. Sometimes they don't like it, but they at least they know what they're coming into each day.
Yeah. Can you guys talk? This is a unique perspective here for people who might be in your position. You guys are also both dads who have kids on your team. Can you talk a little bit about some of the really fun things or challenging things about that, or just your experience being dad and coach on the pool deck, because that's something I know that's tough for parents, right? We talk a lot about like, hey, let the coaches do their job, let the coaches coach, and that's how your kids are really going to thrive. And you guys have the unique opportunity of being coach and dad at the same time. And I'm curious how you guys have how that experience has been, and what advice you would give to other people in that situation out there. Whoever wants to go first is fine.
I'll start, Mike, just since I've had. I mean, you only had this. I think you've already told me that you only coached Olivia just recently. So my oldest is a senior. He's getting ready to graduate. And again, I'll go back to what I said earlier. The program, the NOVA program, really, I don't want to say coaches the kids themselves. You know, we're just kind of the facilitators, but like my boys have just come through and they're with their friends, and I don't have to focus in on my kid, or, you know, yeah, they're there and I'm coaching them, but they're doing what their friends are doing. And the program and the success of the 13-14 program when I coach them has helped them, and it never felt like I was only coaching them. Just they loved being at practice. They loved being with their friends. And I don't feel like I was a part of that. It was fun. I still have I have twins that are 14, and they'll be with me until August. But and that's another part of it. I know that as a dad and as a coach, my role is the 13-14 coach, and I'll have them for 2 years, and then I hand them off to the next NOVA coach. So that's, I guess, as a coach and dad, you can separate it because you don't have to focus in on it all the time. And we don't have to talk about practice on the way home. I know what they just did. And there was really never, that car ride home. You know, why didn't you do this in practice? That type of thing. It was just, they did the work. And, you know, I think it was more about for them being with their friends.
Yeah. It's awesome.
For me, I really, really enjoy it 90% of the time, but there is times when I feel very stressed about it, to be honest with you. Just because I want it, you know, I just want it so badly for my daughter. So, and I find myself that I'm probably a lot tougher on her than I am with the other kids in a group. I hold her to a higher standard, and I've noticed that I need to take a step backwards sometimes and just say, hey, relax. You would not talk to another kid in a group that way. You're her coach right now. So like the majority of the time it's great. But at the same time, I do feel stress because, you know, I'm her dad too. So yeah.
I feel like that would be extremely hard. I know I don't have any kids yet, maybe one day, but I'm so invested in the athletes that have the privilege of being a part of their journey, and absolutely love seeing them succeed, and love being there for them when they don't. And I've always imagined in my head what it would be like if one was, you know, someone that was actually a kid in my family, how I would deal with that. And so it's stressful even for me to think about. So I have a lot of respect for people who are coaching and dadding at the same time, because it's not an easy thing to do, but I'm sure there's some incredible joys with it, but definitely some unique challenges that other people might not have to think about. So I appreciate you guys sharing the honest perspective there. And last thing I have for you guys, this has been awesome. I really appreciate your time. Last thing I have for you guys, maybe we can start with Mike Wenert on this one. If you could give a piece of advice to like a young coach out there, maybe starting out, or even think about talking to your younger self, kind of seeing your coaching journey now and all the things that you've learned. You know, there's a lot of people who would want to be like you guys, who would want to be where you are, who would want to experience the success that you've had. But there's a lot of work that goes into it, and I'm sure a lot of failures along the way that you guys have had that you've been like, oh, I would never do that again. But is there like just kind of any piece of advice you would either give to your younger self or to a young coach who wants to be where you are one day? What would be that piece of advice you would give them?
I mean, to me, like, I'm a pretty simple guy. Like, I enjoy coaching. Like, it is fun. Like, I enjoy writing practices. I enjoy working with the kids. So, there are pressures there, but I don't really think about the pressures. I have fun with it. So I would tell any coach to enjoy it. Enjoy working with the kids. Don't think about the pressure. Just have fun. And I've always, like, there are days when I give a set after practice. I tell myself, that was fun. I haven't had that much fun in a long time. Just watching the kids do something that, crazy hard and you didn't think that they could do, and they crush it. I mean, I genuinely enjoy it. So I always say enjoy the process.
That's awesome. Really cool. Mike Julian, how about yourself?
Yeah, I think coaching in general, whether it's swimming or football, baseball, is a tough job, and the time you're a coach all the time, whether you're getting emails or something like that. I think the advice that I would give someone, and I've talked to some younger coaches about it, talk to your spouse to have someone that can support you in what you're doing, but also know that this job isn't much different than a doctor that might be on call, or a real estate agent that has to work on the weekends and like that. I feel like that is one of the biggest things I've heard from other coaches, is the complaining of, like, away all the time. And it's not as much as you think it actually really is. I love telling the story. I come from my dad was in the Marines, so he actually served 2 tours in Vietnam, and my wife was home visiting with my mom, and they were out, and I was at a swim meet, and I think my kids were young, and she said, Michael's away again on another meet weekend, and my mom looked at my wife and was like, she's like, my wife's name's Julie. She said, Julie, she's like, your father-in-law served 2 tours in Vietnam. I said, I think you can handle a weekend. So it put it in perspective as far as, like, when these younger coaches are complaining about, being away or something like that, it's like, it's not as bad as you think it is. And going back to what Mike said, it's coaching. It's fun. It's something that not many people get to do. We're a small community of people that actually are doing something we enjoy and love doing and making an impact on kids. So if it is something you truly enjoy doing, then, put everything you have into it, because we're not many. There's not many of us. Yeah,
that's great advice. Being able to love the sport, have fun with it. If you can't start there, then you probably shouldn't be a coach. So I love hearing you guys both talk. You can hear it in your voices. You can see it in the day-to-day, and I'm sure the kids and coaching staff can feel it as well. And that's contagious, and when you have coaches who all enjoy what they're doing and collaborate together, work together, and you don't have egos, like, that's just like, it's a perfect storm of really loving what you do and being able to make an impact because just not about you. And so I think that, and then along with the last thing you had just said, Mike, about there is sacrifice involved in swim coaching, but it was actually said to me by Bruno Freitas not too long ago that if you view the things you're doing as sacrifices, then you probably don't really love what you're doing. You're just the necessary things that are required to be a great coach. And I kind of hear you saying the same thing, like, hey, this is a part of the job. Understand the expectations if you want to be great. And if you love it, it doesn't really feel like a sacrifice, but also having a strong support system who believes in you and understands that as well is huge. So that's some really great insight from you guys. I appreciate your time so much. I appreciate Nova being a part of the Swim Strong family and us getting to be a part of the Nova family. Thanks for all that you guys do for the swimming world, and we can't wait to continue to see the amazing things Nova is going to be doing here in the future. Thank you guys for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Got it. If you enjoyed this episode, subscribe to our YouTube channel to catch a new episode each Monday. You can also check us out on social media at SwimStrong Dryland. If you would like to join the SwimStrong family, visit our website at swimstrongdryland.com.